most is when you're in the most trouble. When is that? Death. The second place from the 7 is وَفِي الْقَبْرِ. Right when we die, questioning happens. We read this thing called talqeen to our mayyit, to the dead. And we tell them to, when they say, Man Rabbuk, to say, Allah, who's your Lord? Allah. Many of us say, well, I already know the answer. Sayyid, they've been asking this in school, they've been asking this in Islamic school, obviously. My parents have been teaching this in weekend school, they've been asking this. I know Allah. And when they say, who is your prophet? I already know. But the difference is that death shakes us up. And some people at that time, they will not be able to say Allah. They cannot say Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. Or for example, they cannot say Rasulullah because the calamities of death are so difficult. Ni'matullah Jazairi was one of the students of Allama Majlisi, Muhammad Baqir Majlisi. And he wanted his teacher to, when he dies, his teacher to be able to teach him about the other world, the unseen world, after his death. And his teacher passed away, Allama Majlisi, great alim, many books we have today, Bihar al-Anwar, for example, from him. He helped guide the Safavids so they wouldn't bring their Sufi and Darwishi beliefs to Iran. He helped guide them. He made books in Farsi available for normal people because all the books were in Arabic. So this great scholar who compiled all these traditions, he comes to the dream of a student. And he asks, how was it? What's going on? And he says that basically, when I died, the first thing that helped me in the grave, because in the grave is a place of calamity, the first thing that helped me in my grave was that this action, once I was in the city and I saw that they surrounded, for example, my neighbor or person that I knew possibly, demanding money from him, maybe hitting him, insulting him. And he kept saying, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back. So Allama Majlisi passed by this person and he says, let me help him out. And he tells all those people that demanded money from him, he says, come to me, I will give you money. I will pay his debt. Now deal with me. And this neighbor or this person was so happy with him that you saved my reputation, thank you for helping me. And he says that this was the first thing in the grave that helped me. He written all these books. Not that, books don't count or knowledge is not important, but we have the opposite. That knowledge is one of the most important things. But everything has its own station. And one of the first things in the grave, it was asked, was this. And one of the first things that benefited him was helping someone else. Then we have وَعِنْدَ النُّشُورِ, the day of judgment, when we're resurrected again. God gives life to us again in a body like this, but we have it's a physical resurrection with spirit. وَعِنْدَ الْكِتَابِ, that is when Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet, will come. وَعِنْدَ الْحِسَابِ, accountability, the account. وَعِنْدَ الْمِيزَانِ, and when we weigh our actions. وَعِنْدَ الصِّرَاطِ, and in the scary bridge that some will be crawling and they'll be burnt because they're walking too slow. Some will be as fast as lightning and nothing will happen. And some will be dangling on that and will be burned. So when we look at this tradition and we analyze belief in the hereafter, we see that man is of 3 categories. And if you want to realize where we are now, this is the first category. That there are those that have completely rejected or denied the hereafter. In our philosophy or Western philosophy, in our culture, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is that remembering death is not beneficial. Remembering death is sad. Because you should not think about it. You should enjoy your life in this world. And remembering death is just causing you to get sad. Why would you remember death? Isn't the purpose of life is to try to be as happy as possible, to try to enjoy yourself as much as you can? Life is short. It's like a person that is driving, and in front of him is a big truck. He's going to get in a big accident. And instead of paying attention, he closes his eyes. Does closing his eyes make the truck go away? No. Actually, he's going to get in a worse accident. So today, we live in a culture where people are intentionally closing their eyes. They really don't want to think about death. But for us, we said this over and over, that being prepared for death is actually not something scary for us necessarily. And that actually remembering death causes us to remember and have focus on why we've been created. What is the purpose of life? So the first group are those that completely deny death. And they want to live a life without thinking of death. And if they go to a funeral, that funeral will not cause them remembrance, will not wake them up because they don't really care. Even if it's the funeral of their dad or mom, they don't care. They just want to get it over with. And even if they cry, maybe they think they're weak. And you've probably seen this sometimes. And this is unfortunately the way that modern society a lot of times is treating death. The second group are those that believe in it, but because of their distractions of this world, because of the illusion of this world, they think that this world is the reality. And they're going to live here forever. And they forget. They do not come sometimes to the masjids, the centers. They don't hear the speeches, the advice. They don't read the Holy Quran or traditions from Ahlul Bayt. And therefore, they're neglectful. They forget. Some of the surahs that we have, like Suratul Waqa'ah, are surahs, they say, recite, so you're not recorded as the ghafileen. You won't be of the ghafileen, those that neglect. Because Suratul Waqa'ah talks about the hereafter. Talks about the three groups of people in the hereafter and what will happen to each and every one of them. So this is another category that we see that the Ummah, Muslims in general, if you see today, most of them forget. Forget about death. If I ask yourself right now, honestly, before this speech, don't tell me right now, before this speech, when was the last time you thought about death? Why do you think you'll live forever? Do you have a guarantee from the angel of death that you have to live so many years? If you do, give me that. I need that guarantee. I'll buy it off you with lots of money. Nobody knows. Do you know if you will go to heaven or hell? Does anyone right now swear that they'll go into heaven? Nobody knows. So why do we forget about this danger that's in front of us? This belief that we have that until we settle this, nothing will be settled. In this, one of the most important du'as, if you see throughout the du'as and prayers that we have throughout, is freedom, freeing my neck from the hellfire. In Hajj you have it, in Shahr Ramadan you have it. Neglecting death. The third group are those that when it comes to death, they remember it constantly. And their heart is alive. And their heart is connected to God because they know the destination. They're remembering God. They're not attached to this world. Yes, they are working in this world. They're not bums of this world and just sleeping. They're working in this world, but that work does not cause them to forget God. It does not cause them to forget the destination. The Prophet in hadith, let me show you a nice hadith, asks Abu Dhar this question. Abu Dhar, do you want to enter heaven? In hadith. تحب أن تدخل الجنة? Do you want to enter heaven? And Abu Dhar so respectfully says, نعم فداك أبي. May my father be sacrificed for you? Yes. So he gives him 3 pieces of advice if you want to go to heaven. 1, فَقْصِرْ مِنَ الْأَمَلِ. Make your dreams short. Your material dreams that you have for yourself, make it short. Those material dreams that is like salt water, and you dream, you attain it, and then you get more thirsty, make those short. You have a house, but in it you're like, okay, I'm going to get a nicer and bigger house. Then you sell that house and get another house. And you say, no, I have another dream. I want to get a large house so that everyone can come to my house. And then when that house is built, you say, well, you know what? I want to take all of Yasin on a nice cruise with my ship, my yacht. And we want to have Du'a Kumail there. Well, that's a good niyat, but let's just say, we would love to have that. If you do, please invite us, inshallah. I just want to have a yacht, or that yacht's not enough. That's a millionaire's lot. I want a billionaire's yacht, for example. And these dreams and aspirations will never end. Will kill you at the end. But how can you turn off these long dreams? Say this, what if I die tonight? What if I die tomorrow? That yacht's still going to be going cruising around the harbor, but I'm going to be in the grave. What's the purpose of that? So the second advice, وَجَعَلَ الْمَوْتِ نُصْبَ عَيْنَيْكِ. Take death and put it in front of your eyes. Imagine put your hand right now in front of your eyes. You can still see me, inshallah, hopefully, but you know something's there. That is what it means. Place it in front, nusba aynik, in front of your eye. Put death. Wherever I look, I'm looking through the lens that this is temporary, this is temporary, this is temporary. Did you ever look at life this way? Did you ever have a day where everything you saw was transient, was passing? Looking at a bridge? For example, you look at life, your house, like a hotel room. When you check into the hotel room, you really don't care how great it is. To some extent, it's good, but you say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to check out. I'm not going to go and repair everything in it. I'm not going to pay attention to every detail. I just needed for a place to stay for a little bit, and then tomorrow I'm going to check out. So if death is like this for you, then your attachment to this world will be gone. And I'm telling this to myself. And the last, he says, وَاسْتَحِهْ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَقَّ الْحَيَاءِ. And have shame. Be shameful, be modest when it comes to Allah. He's watching you. Is he watching you all the time? Does he even know your intentions? Does he even know what goes on in your mind, what you're thinking of right now? I don't know if you're paying attention to the speech or not, basically. Allah knows, though. Allah knows if you're paying attention. I don't. I know a little bit. I can just tell, some. And then usually when people don't pay attention, I have to make the speeches very long, just to punish you. But if you pay attention, I make it short. I give rewards. So have haya, have shame. I'm telling myself this. Did you ever live your life, imagine from tomorrow, the entire day Allah is watching me. If Allah is watching me, shouldn't I have shame in front of Him? Is there anywhere I can go where He doesn't see me, He knows my intentions? Shouldn't I be a good person? That'll make me good. Having shame of God. Haya is in front of people, it's good, haya. And also shame in front of Allah is very good. So when we look at intercession, We said that this belief is a belief that is crucial for our survival and salvation. And I wish that we would share this with the Christians too, because a lot of times they don't even know how much we like Prophet Isa alayhi salam, how much we love him and his mother alayhi salam. And the second, they don't know how much we're able to connect and to know God through a prophet, through other prophets, through successors and imams, and how strong this connection becomes with tawassul. A person might ask, do I have to do tawassul all the time? Do I have to ask for shafaat all the time? Do I have to? Is it wajib? What if I just pray? Quran has lots of prayers with Rabbana in the Quran that don't have any tawassul in it. Right? Why not? So it's not wajib for me necessarily to make dua with tawassul, with beseeching the names of these prophets and imams. But it strengthens my dua. It strengthens my connection. And maybe if you say that I don't need it, then that would also be wrong as well. Because those that deny shafa'at and intercession will not receive it. There are conditions to receive shafa'at. One of them is to believe in it. You have to believe in that shafa'at to happen. When you look at the Holy Quran, about 24 verses talk about intercession. And some people get confused because some of the verses say there is no shafa'ah, there's no intercession. And those verses are talking about false intercessors, false mediators. Because polytheists would take idols, false deities, and worship them and would want them to intercede in their behalf. That is polytheism. So those verses that talk about not allowing intercession is for the polytheists. It's for false mediators. Then we have verses that also say that you should only ask help from Allah. What about this? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Some say, what about this verse? We say in our salah that we only ask help from God. Then what are you doing? You're saying Ya Ali, for example. Or you're doing tawassul. You're asking for shafa'ah. So again, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, the way that the mufassirin and fuqaha and jurists say, is asking, only worshipping, asking help from God. And when you're saying, for example, Ya Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajal farjo, and you're asking this prophet, the last prophet, because he's the messenger of Allah and Allah has allowed his intercession, you're asking nobody else but Allah. Because you believe that only God can give him the power and authority to intercede in your behalf. So that it has no conflict with إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. That is still ista'anat billah. Even when you ask someone for help, make dua for me. I'm doing ista'anat for somebody else. But that's still in reality of Allah. Because Allah wants you to ask others because their du'as work better for you. Or else having somebody else make dua for you would be shirk and polytheism. So other verses actually say in the Quran, وَلَا تَنْفَعُ الشَّفَاعَ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا لِمَنْ أَذِنَ لَهُ. There is no intercession except for who Allah has allowed. So Quran actually has an exception except for those who He permits. There's no intercession. No intercession will avail. So clearly in the Quran, 34:23, chapter 34:23, is clearly giving an exception. There is no intercession except for whoever God wills, whoever God gives permission. So understand from Quran there are those that God has given permission. But the funny thing is, a lot of times we don't understand this, is that actually Shia and Sunni Both believe in intercession. It's not only a Shia thing. If you look at some of the verses that Rasulullah has al-maqam al-mahmud, both Shia and Sunni commentators of the Quran say this is intercession of Rasulullah. Fakhr Razi, one of the big greats of Ahlul Sunnah, his tafsir says this is intercession. Or many verses of the Quran. He will give you so much until Rasulullah will be satisfied. Shafa'a, shafa'a, shafa'a. Intercession, intercession, intercession. So the actual concept is a concept that denies intercession of false deities. They don't have intercession. If I ask this rock, I have a pet rock, or this idol, and I say, intercede on my behalf, that's wrong and that's shirk and that doesn't even work. But I ask the Messenger of Allah and his noble family, then that is actually where you'll find the true rahmat of Allah. That is where you need to go. And we'll say, well, what's the philosophy behind this? What's the purpose behind this? Lots of purpose, a lot of wisdom. We're going to mention it tonight. Actually, we have a tradition from Ahmad ibn Hanbal in Musnad, Sunni sources. God bless me with 5 privileges from Rasulullah. One of them is shafa'ah. Will be for those who do not commit polytheism. Tradition from Ahlul Sunnah. A person comes to Imam Baqir alayhi salam, Abu Ayman, and mentions to Imam Sadiq alayhi, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, says, "Oh Abu Ja'far, you delude these people." The Arabic is taqarruna nas. You trick them, you deceive them, and you say that Muhammad's intercession, shafa'atu Muhammad, فغضب عليه السلام حتى تربت وجهه. He became so angry that he was glowering, he was angry, his face. Woe betide you, Abu Ayman. Then he says this to him. If in any case do you think that he will only intercede for those whose punishment is in the fire is obligatory? He's mentioning in this hadith, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, that everyone needs intercession. Not only that are going to hell. Do you need this only intercede for those whose punishment in fire is obligatory? Then he continued saying, every single person, ما من أحد من الأولين والآخرين إلا وهو محتاج إلى شفاعة محمد يوم القيامة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. From the first and the last, everyone will need the intercession of our Prophet. Why? Because if you failed, God forbid, but you had the qualities and the conditions of shafa'ah, you will be saved. And if you did good, but you didn't do excellent, you did good, but you want to be with the infallibles on the Day of Judgment, you want to be with them, then also you will need intercession, shafa'at, so that your okay, your good score will become excellent. So everyone is in need of it. Question, does shafa'at happen in this world too? Yes. Shafa'at and intercession is not only in the other world. Shafa'at and intercession is in this world. In that connection that happens, you get guided. Even if the Prophet has left this world, has passed away. But we still believe that his soul is present. We don't believe in annihilation, that Rasulullah can guide you in this world. Imam Ali alayhi salam can guide you in this world. Lady Fatima guides you in this world. We believe this. And we think that this is actually one of the best places for a person to become guided. And this is the way our ulama tested people. They wanted to know, for example, does this person have a chance of guidance? say, does he cry for Imam Hussein? If he cries for Imam Hussein, he has a chance for guidance. Why? Because this connection is so important. This is where the rahmat of Allah is. Let me give you an example. One of our scholars by the name of Sayyid Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khansari. He lived in, many of you here probably know of his life, some don't. He was a marja taqleed, mujtahid, and someone that the tradesmen and the businessmen of Tehran came to Ayatollah al-Uzma Burujerdi and asked for a scholar, and he gave him another mujtahid, Sayyid Ahmad Khansari, Ayatollah Ahmad Khansari. They came to him, this great person who also was very careful of the way he acts, was very quiet. Because he was in Tehran, a lot of the scholars that I know, they actually met him and they knew how he was. A very quiet person. They would talk to him for like 15 minutes, and he would just say, Bale. That's it. He wouldn't talk. He would worship and, educate. He was a zahid. So they come to him and they say that I have a brother. This one guy says, I have a brother. This brother does every sin in the world, basically. Because he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for sins. Everything he does, everything he tried. Come and talk to my brother, your Ayatollah al-Uzma Khansari, for himself. And when he came to Tehran, and people knew, and some even saw karamat from him. And they knew what a great scholar he is. Said, your nafas, your breath is influential. Talk to my brother. So he says, I have this condition. Take him to Karbala, your sinning brother. Take him to Karbala. If he cries عند al-Hussein alayhi salam by being by Imam Hussein, then I'll tell you he has a chance. And bring him back to me, I'll give you advice. But if he goes to Karbala and doesn't cry, I won't give him advice because I can't change his heart. So a little while passes, and this guy comes back. He says, my brother, we went to Karbala. I somehow tricked them. Sometimes, tricking people is wajib. Some type of trickery is wajib. Somehow he tricked them. I don't know however he did. He tricked them, so let's go to Karbala. Let's go on a trip. And he tricked kids sometimes to do something good. He tricked them. We went to this holy city. My brother wasn't even interested in doing ziyarah. He kept looking around at the shopping, and mashallah, a lot of times, unfortunately, today we go in the caravan, they're all interested in shopping and looking, and he didn't want to go and do ziyarah. But finally, when he did make that ziyarah, he really began to cry. And his heart broke. And Allah is in the heart of the broken person. That's where you find someone, in the heart of a broken person. And his brother came and said this to him. He says, look, now that you're crying, now that you realize, this isn't how you should live, basically. Right now, in front of Imam Hussein, make a promise. Make a promise that all of these sins, this lifestyle, this way of living, put it all away. For you, Imam Hussein, I'll do away with it. And he promised. He says that actually, Ayatollah Ahmad Khansari, my brother doesn't need to come anymore for your advice. The fact that I just took him to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he changed. This person later on, from that life that he had, when Saddam attacked Iran, and it was wajib for every person in their own country to defend against Saddam, he went in the battlefield and became shaheed, and became a martyr later on. Someone that did every sin. But that connection to Imam Hussein alayhi salam shows us that there's shafa'at in this world. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam grabs your hand in this world. I tell people sometimes in the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, I say, Imam Hussein, go to the shrine and cling on tight and say, Imam Hussein, grab my arm, help me. Then I tell him, actually, he has helped you, or else you would not be here right now. He already has grabbed your hand. So intercession happens in this world, and tonight we'll end with the effects of believing in intercession. Believing in intercession has benefits. The first benefit is hope. Because I want you to look at through all these narrations that we talk about mirsat, about sirat, about haqqun nas, about salat, about mizan, weighing our a'mal, against the actions of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who was mizanul a'mal. We have nothing left. And looking at all those hadith about intentions and niyat, and that Allah only accepts something that is 100% genuine. Just like today, you wouldn't accept, one of the scholars was saying, you wouldn't accept something that's a fake brand, for example. If you wanted looking for a brand, if it was, for example, 50% authentic, 50% fake, you wouldn't accept it. God wants something completely sincere and genuine, that there's no shirk or polytheism in it, absolutely. What's left for us? Nothing. Nothing is left. So the only hope that we have is that Allah sends these infallibles, these people that prophets use their names, from Prophet Adam alayhi salam, use the holy names, to Prophet Ibrahim, who used this name, to Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, that used this name when he was in the well. All these names of, our Prophet, Imam Ali, Lady Fatima, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they use these names in order to become saved. Gives you hope. Gives you hope. The second benefit of shafa'ah, and one of the reasons I like talking about this, is that in the youth sometimes they realize that it's not really strong, this tawassul. Older generations, sometimes you see is stronger. But in the youth, they should know salat is important, reading Quran is important, but also crying for the infallible. Sometimes it breaks your heart. You see, there's a wedding, and the night of one of the wafats or shahadas, there's a wedding, for example, in the community or whatever. Like, this is a shahadat of one of the imams. At least respect this night. I always tell people, look at the calendar. Go and look at the calendar a little bit. Plan your events around the passing away of the imams, waladats of the imams. Plan your lifestyle should be Islamic. The second factor that it causes us is that it makes us have a stronger connection to the prophets and imams. If you do lots of asking for shafa'at or tawassul, it gives you that ability to connect with the imams. Because you're asking them, you're calling them. Once I was listening to one of our scholars, and he keeps saying that there's nothing more important than remembering the imam of the age. And he's saying that if you know something more important than remembering Imam Zaman, tell me, teach me. And he was an allama, a scholar, a philosopher. And then they come to him and say, how is this remembering of Imam? He says, just like you remember your friend. You have a friend, sometimes you think about him. He says, this is the bare minimum. You have an imam. I'm just thinking about him. He says, even if I don't say salams to him, if I do, it's better. But even if I don't do salams, if I don't do salawats for him, if I don't do ziyarat for him, the fact I just remember him. This is the advice you'd give the young people. This is the advice you would give others. How can I be? So strengthening your connection to the imams, especially the imam of the age. Asking them. This is the way of guidance. Some of our scholars were so keen. And actually, when it came to Muharram of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, one of our great speakers and lecturers by the name of Ayatollah Hastei. He was a great scholar that maybe 100 people, or maybe 1,000 people would come to listen to him. And they said that he would think and reflect and connect to Bibi Fatima to Zahra alayhi salam and ask her and say, which one of these do you want me to go this Muharram? Imagine being invited everywhere. Everyone wanted you for this Muharram. And he would ask Sayyidah Fatima, show me which one makes you happy. I want to go there. And it's hard for a speaker Maybe there are centers and masjids with lots of people, maybe even lots of gifts, maybe lots of comfort sometimes. So he gets information in a way that there's a lady, there's a person that Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam is satisfied with her rosa, with her majlis. So he goes after this lady, whoever it is. He goes to find her. And he goes actually to the parts of Tehran, the city of Tehran. There's actually the southern part, maybe the ghetto part. And he understands from this dream or connection that he has with her that everywhere that is the flag of Imam Hussein is arise, we are happy. We are happy. But we ourselves attend this majlis. Everywhere we are happy, but if you want to know where we go here. So he goes to find this place, and he goes and goes and goes, and finds this lady that he found out in a way in a dream or whatever, that this is the one, majlis. It was actually a lady that when he saw was washing something, was actually very, maybe she was very poor. And she immediately tells him that if, she's like, oh, do you need help this Muharram? I can help. And she says, like, a lot of people aren't going to come. If you're going to, expect a lot of people to come, they're not going to come. So he goes for these 10 nights and goes to this very, you could say, sincere majlis for Imam Hussein without a lot of people. And because of the poverty that he saw there, he says, for sure, I'm not going to get a gift. He actually stood up when it was done, after 10 days or whatever, he stood up to run so that she wouldn't see him, so she wouldn't give a gift, because she was in a bad economic position. And when he came to leave, she chased after him and kept telling like, Shaykh, Hajj Agha, wait, came looking for him. And then he says, look, I cannot accept this for you. What about you? It's this money. He says, I cannot accept this for you. He says, but I worked 1 year cleaning people's homes so I could gather this money so I can have majlis for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I cleaned people's homes for 1 year just so I can have majlis in my house for Imam Hussein. Please accept this. And with this intention that she had, he did accept. But you understood, this is where Sayyidah Fatima, from what he saw, that is the majlis that she goes to. The person that works 1 year cleaning people's homes in order to have majlis for Imam Hussein. I ask you this, Fatimiyya. It's very good to attend and listen. But how much did you do for this Ayyam of Fatimiyya? Yourself, volunteer. Did you help out anyway? Even with cleaning, even organizing? What did you do? This lady for 1 year would clean people's homes and couldn't afford it just to have enough so to have a majlis for Imam Hussein. So what do we do for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? How come sometimes we just want to listen and just to attend like a guest, but you don't want to be a host? And alhamdulillah, in centers in the US, there's such a great opportunity to volunteer so that you can participate in giving food, serving food. Some of our ulama, some places when it came to the Rosa of Imam Hussein, they wouldn't allow anyone to help. When it came to organizing people's shoes, they would say, I have to do this. When it came to offering tea, they said, I have to do this. Because they wanted to be part of, get that reward of hosting and volunteering. Listening is one thing, but volunteering is something else. And the last part, and we'll end it tonight, is that when a person believes in shafa'at, intercession, they also try to attain the conditions of intercession. Because shafa'at has conditions. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Istajibu al-anbiya Allah, or istajibu al-anbiya lil-anbiya Allah, وَسَلِّمُوا لِأَمْرِهِمْ وَأَعْمَلُوا بِطَاعَتِهِمْ تَدْخُلُوا فِي شَفَاعَتِهِمْ. Answer the call of the prophets and submit to their affairs and act upon their instructions, their obediences, you will enter the shafa'ah. Acting upon what the prophets say, you will get shafa'ah, Imam Ali alayhi salam, and hadith says. It's not as if when the prophets come and say a person will not get shafa'ah with a person that takes prayers lightly, and they have this instruction and you don't care about it. You say, I just want shafa'ah. So actually you're looking for the conditions. Some of them in sayings or in teachings is hypocrites. Hypocrites will not get intercession. Oppressors will not get intercession. Traitors will not get intercession. Deniers of shafa' will not get intercession. Those that don't take prayer seriously won't get intercession. Those who harass the progeny and children of the Prophet won't get intercession. The disbelievers and polytheists will not get intercession. So we look at also the condition for those that achieve this high position called a shafa'ah from the imams, inshallah. May Allah make us of those that receive the shafa'at and make these 7 places that we mentioned for us with the blessings of the Prophet and his rahmah, which is nothing but the rahmat of Allah during wafat and our passing, and during the grave, during the resurrection, during the kitab when they give our actions, during the hisab, our account, during the mizan, our actions are weighed, and during the salat, inshallah, he will come to our aid with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal.